Thank you, Your Honor. Council members, I'll try to be brief on my presentation to take no longer than 1 hour and 20 minutes. We have two things for tonight. One is going to be an amendment to our ordinance on the Sidewalk Cafe ordinance to allow the City Council at their discretion to pass resolutions to, in the future, if they want to expand the use of sidewalk cafes for events, that they will have the authority. And then the second one we have for you is actually a specific resolution to exercise that amendment on that resolution. This is concerning the City of Moscow in partnership with Chamber of Commerce in hosting a downtown block party. I think it's the Vandal Town Block Party. Set to happen here in Moscow on September 26, 2014, to kind of to welcome back the new and returning students and kind of introduce them to the downtown community and actually celebrate our community as a whole. The event will be on Main Street. It'll be from A Street down to 6th Street. That's downtown will be closed. 3rd Street east to west would be left open so traffic can continue to flow through east and west. The idea behind amending the Sidewalk Cafe ordinance is to allow established businesses down there that exercise the Sidewalk Cafe to be able to expand their business during that event to kind of bring more of a festive and enticing atmosphere for the event. And it's also to provide an incentive for the businesses to participate. So it is proposed that the restrictions relating to the Sidewalk Cafe be adjusted for this event and as a pilot for future potential events. The proposed adjustments to the restrictions would be to allow the establishments to expand in front of their neighbor businesses, as long as the neighboring business gives them written permission to do so, and then they would be able to apply for an expanded Sidewalk Cafe presence. But all the other restrictions for Sidewalk Cafes would still be in effect. That means they would still have to maintain their 4-foot passageway in front for pedestrians. They couldn't block the sidewalk. They would still have to physically mark their Sidewalk Cafe. That's for controls to make sure people have an entryway and an exit way. They would still have to abut. A Sidewalk Cafe would still have to be out in front of an eating or drinking establishment, and it could be expand next door into the neighbors. So tonight before you is an amendment on our Moscow City Code 9-12-6, number 12-6D, which limits the licensed area for a Sidewalk Cafe to just 50% in front of that business. This proposal would amend Section D to allow the exception for that 50% with specific regulations adopted by City Council by a resolution or otherwise is authorized or permitted by the city. That'll be the first order of business for that.
Okay. Dan?
Tom had.
Tom, then Dan.
I would just like to make a motion to approve the draft ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that be read by title and published by summary.
I'll second it, and then I'll have some discussion.
Yep. Okay, it's open for discussion. Dan, you got the floor.
So, Rod, if we pass this, the ordinances allows us to make these alterations by resolution on a case-by-case basis.
Correct.
And then, so the ordinance has no date tied to it at all. It's just the resolution is what we would do for a certain date.
Yes, the resolution would limit the event or whenever you want it to.
Okay.
We've got 2 points of order here tonight, and that's the ordinance, and
right.
And then the second thing will be the resolution, Dan.
Right.
So that'll come
Yep.
second. Other discussion, Walter?
Dan, were you through?
Yes.
So the proposed resolution, not the ordinance that's under motion, but the resolution is to a specific date.
Yes, it is.
Single day, and is limited to a single abutting business?
Correct.
Or can a business abut in 2 directions?
We limited it to 1, and it couldn't go in front of the old one completely. It could only go to the doorway of the next business.
And it cannot go 2 businesses over,
No,
just the one?
it was limited to
Single
just one
adjustment.
direction. Correct.
And the last thing, if I may, just wanted to make sure that we're clear that any alcohol catering permit that's required will be required, and the fee for that will have to be paid.
Correct. And so if there is a restaurant that has a alcohol or liquor license, if they want to use that to expand to another space, per law, they're going to have to talk with ABC, and they're also going to have to apply for a catering permit, because they're going to be serving on some place that's not their establishment,
With the usual fee.
with the usual fee.
Thank you.
Wayne?
On your amendment under Section D, Rod, you have except in accordance with specific regulations adopted by the council by resolution, or as otherwise authorized or permitted by city. That last part, I guess I would first ask you to define city.
The city of Moscow?
Well,
By our code.
okay, I'm sorry.
By our code. If it's otherwise, there's any place else in the code that would allow it.
Okay.
Or if we
That
amend the
answers
code in
that.
the future.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Other discussion? Tom?
I just wanted to point out that I like that this ordinance allows for that flexibility for this council or future councils to pass resolutions to amend or allow for this to happen.
Well, I believe
So this
that you-
one specific one that we're looking at later this evening is specific to this piece, and there may be tweaks and changes in the future for other resolutions.
Well, and I believe council would have the authority by resolution to do this, but by amending the ordinance, it gives, you're granting the authority rather than people saying, well, I guess you can do anything you want to be passed, but your law doesn't necessarily provide for that.
Right.
This is a lot clearer. You can thank Stephanie for that. She advocated for that.
Thanks, Stephanie.
John?
Just a clarification, it was talked about the ABC is comfortable with this, because I know that if you've got a beer or wine license to sell outside of the perimeter, you still have to include that in that license. And so if we expand that for a one-day period or a 6-hour period or something, we're not going to run afoul of the alcoholic beverage control people.
Stephanie's raising her hand. Steph, you have something? Or are you just making a
I was just
motion?
going to say, that's why you have to have a catering permit. That's what it does. It allows them to serve someplace outside of their licensed area.
Thank you.
Other discussion for Rod? Okay, here's what we have. We've got a motion that was made by Tom to approve the draft ordinance under the suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary. And that was seconded by Dan. I will start to roll with Art. Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 6-0. And this is ordinance 2014 dash.
15?
Okay, so what we have in here is ordinance number 2014-15, an ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the State of Idaho, providing for the amendment of the Moscow City Code Title 9, Chapter 12, to allow for the temporary expansion of a sidewalk cafe in downtown Moscow under specific regulations and under limited conditions pursuant to the Moscow City Code 9-12-C-D, or 6D, I'm sorry, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable and providing that this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Okay, so now we will move on to the Walter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we approve the attached resolution allowing extension of a sidewalk cafe to a neighboring business under specific regulations for the Vandal Town Block Party to be held on September 26, 2014.
Second.
Okay. Anybody want to discuss this resolution before we move forward? Seeing none, okay, what we have here is Walter made a motion to approve the resolution allowing the extension of a sidewalk cafe to the neighboring business under specific regulations for the Vandal Town Block Party on September 26, 2014. And I will start, and it was seconded by Tom Lamore, and I'll start with John.
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. It passed 6-0, so we will have a Vandal Block Party, folks. And
It's definitely- do you have a number?
it's going to be from 6 to 9.
Well, we needed a number for the resolution, too.
Oh,
2014-17?
2014-17 for the resolution? Okay. And that is resolution number 2014-17, which I do not have to read.